say, oh, I can't put myself first, that's selfish, but it's actually selfish not to. And this is a mindset we have to shift out of, because when we put ourselves first and we invest in ourselves with, like, books and nourishment and meditation and those types of things,
and coaches.
Yes.
Absolutely. Welcome to the Optimum Human Podcast, the show that interviews the world's top experts in fitness, nutrition, mindset, and beyond. Let's get into the show.
Hey everyone, welcome to round 2 of this episode of the Optimum Human Podcast. I'm Brian McKay, and I forgot to hit record the first time around, so yeah.
Yeah, that's Brian. I'm Claude. I'm Claude Trulis, and we are the hosts of the Optimum Human Podcast.
We host the Optimum Human Podcast.
Yeah, we're not the Optimum podcast people, obviously, but today's guest is... Brian, I'll let you do the intro. I can't even talk, man.
Fair enough. Today's guest is Chloe Gower, who is a holistic... Oh my God.
Words are hard. Keep going, Brian. Use your words. Use your words.
I can't even do this.
Holistic, Paleolithic.
Okay. All right, Chloe. Who are you? Who are you, and what do you do? Help us, please.
I'll go ahead. I am a holistic health coach, and I specialize in autoimmune disorders and different issues going on in the body, so something like an imbalance. And I'm specifically a transformational holistic health coach because I focus on the whole person.
All right,
thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
There we go.
Somebody's pulling this podcast together. Thank God for our guests. God forbid it was.
Would you like a job?
Right.
Oh, I love mine though.
Good,
God.
good.
You guys.
All right, so.
Okay. So everyone's doing well. Brian, you're doing okay, man?
I think so. I don't even know. This has been an
Uh,
interesting morning, to say the least.
Well, I know, Brian, you're drinking tea. What kind of tea are you drinking?
I am drinking Yogi. It is called Mayan Cocoa Spice Tea. It's got a hint of cinnamon and a hint of cocoa, and it is quite tasty.
That sounds fancy. All right, Mayan cocoa. I'm going to write that down. And Chloe, what are you drinking? I still don't understand. It's some sort of stuff they make in outer space?
Yes, it's moon food. It's a brand called Creo Brew, and they...
Can you spell that for us?
Yeah, it's CREO, and then BRU.
Okay.
So CREO, BRU, and they are a company that manufactures and imports in cocoa beans, and they grind them up and they have them in a bag just like you would buy coffee at the local grocery store, and you brew it like coffee, just the same exact way, and it just it gets that fix, it gets that warm, kind of bitter, but also chocolatey taste. But then it's much less acidic than coffee, and it's higher in antioxidants, and it's lower in caffeine, but you still get that energy boost from it. It's wonderful. It's been the best change I've ever made in my mornings.
All right, that's an endorsement. I like that.
Didn't mean it but
no,
please.
I mean, I'm kind of tempted to try this.
If there's good products and good services out there, we want to know, and we want our listening audience to know. So.
Oh, good. I have more for you later on.
Beautiful. Well, we will definitely get into that. But so, Chloe, I'm really curious. How did you get into your line of work? Do you have a health? I guess everyone has a health journey of their own. Can you kind of get into yours?
Yeah. I'll just kind of dive into where I discovered that this was my calling, and that was when I was about 17 years old. Previous to that, I had been diagnosed with celiac. So that's an inability to digest the protein gluten, which is in wheat, barley, and rye, and many people have it, or many people have a gluten intolerance. And at that point, I switched over and did a gluten-free diet, and I was feeling a little better. But then once I turned 17, I started having this extreme fatigue. And when I say extreme, I mean quite literally, I couldn't get out of bed, and that persisted for a year. So I was actually on bed rest for a year.
Wow.
And I missed my entire junior year of high school just because it was hard to walk. My joints ached. The fatigue was so extreme that I just was not able to function. And I went to some Western doctors, and they told me I was depressed and pregnant. That was their diagnosis of what was going on.
Did you say depressed and pregnant?
Yes, that was their diagnosis. They were like, you must be pregnant and you must be depressed. We'll put you on lithium. And I was like, no, thank you. I'm not depressed. I'm not pregnant. And so
Wow.
Great doctors.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, did they run any tests for that? I mean,
No, they were just 100% convinced that I was pregnant, and they did a test, even though I said, no, I'm not. I'm very sure, I'm 100% sure I'm not. And they ran the tests and came back negative, and they said, well, we'll put you on an antidepressant. And I said, no, absolutely not. I'm not depressed. I want to get better. And so from there, it was lots of money and lots of researching the right types of doctors. But I found a naturopath who diagnosed me with, I had the Epstein-Barr virus. So I had chronic fatigue. And then also my adrenals were failing. I had adrenal fatigue. And I had low thyroid all of a sudden. I had leaky gut. I was diagnosed with leaky gut. And then I also was allergic to dairy and eggs. So I had these other allergies that I wasn't aware of. And I also had cysts on my ovaries, and that's considered PCOS when you have multiple cysts. And all of these things create disruptions in your hormones in the endocrine system. And my body was just falling apart, and I had nowhere to turn to but these diagnoses. And as much as the naturopath was a saving grace, an angel from heaven, from there I didn't know how to get better. And so for the last six or so years, I spent really figuring out how to heal myself. And it wasn't from prescription medication. It wasn't even from just nutrition. It was a whole body healing. It was a mindset shift. It was different practices I put in place. It was the right exercise routine. And nutrition was a huge part of it, but it wasn't the only part. And so through college, I actually wasn't even a nutrition major in college, but I was always researching, probably more than I was studying nutrition. And I came to this point after college where I said, this is my passion, I'm going to go for it. So I went back to school to be a holistic health coach.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge journey. I mean, that is a lot of issues. And how are you today?
Oh my gosh, I have joy every day because I just get to experience life as not just a normal person, but an above and beyond a normal person. I have tons of energy. I can go work out like a normal person. I travel all the time. I had this turning point where one of the natural doctors I visited said, you'll probably never heal from chronic fatigue. You'll always have it. And I'm sure a lot of people have received that diagnosis just because it's considered something that you get and then you're always plagued with. And I just decided, no, I'm gonna actually live a completely normal, healthy life. And so I did. I made it happen.
Yeah, and that, reminds me, like, we as practitioners and particularly doctors really need to be careful about what we tell a patient. I mean, telling someone that you're pretty much doomed and you're going to be dealing with these symptoms or this diagnosis for the rest of your life. The mind is just so important in healing, and just taking away any hope from someone is just it not only does it not neglect, but really it's almost kind of abusive to the patient, the client, and can really prevent someone from actually healing.
Yeah, oh my gosh, completely. And I think on the other end of that, when you say, I will heal you, that's actually doing a disservice to the client or the patient.
Absolutely.
Because it's really, they have the power within them to do that. Our bodies want to heal themselves. We're just the guides and the people that show them the way and help them along the path, but they are the ones that have the power to do that.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Absolutely. Yeah. No practitioner can heal you. You can only heal you. And it's just a matter of giving yourself and creating the space and doing the things to allow your body to heal. The body is designed to heal, to find homeostasis, and
Right.
it's up to us to give it what it needs and to figure that out, quite frankly.
Oh, completely. And something I've really been looking into lately, and I already kind of knew a little bit about this, but the gut and the brain, they communicate all the time. The gut really is like the second brain, and it's communicating through the immune system, through the vagus nerve. When you have a disruption or dis-ease in your mind, that translates into the gut and vice versa. And so when we can really get those in tune with each other, like really listening to what our body needs and really working on that gut biome and that microbiome in our gut, we really can, I think that is probably the holy grail of health for many people, is really dialing in the connection between the brain and the digestion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'll see a lot of people that they're having these digestion problems, and this is me included. And somewhere along the line, maybe at 8 years old or so or something, they had their parents divorced or some traumatic event happened, and because of that, they maybe there was something like a low self-worth that was created in that instance, or maybe there was something I don't matter, and then they live their life thinking that way, and they end up having, you almost can tell what someone's going to be plagued with just by paying attention to what their experiences are. That's why it's so important to listen to the client, because what their past experiences are, or even just something like that's a fact, like they had a cesarean section at birth, may lead to them later in life having digestive issues because they didn't get that gut flora from their mother, or they had the wrong thinking patterns. And so really listening and understanding what's going on and what has gone on can really empower them to move on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hell, it even goes, in utero, how much stress was your mother during your pregnancy? I mean,
Yes.
really, like it's, it definitely plays a role. I guess I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And that's something I've learned recently, because I think I came at it from like nutrition will heal me, food will heal me. And that's so true. But my digestion actually didn't completely 100% heal to where the point I just do not have issues with it, rarely, until I started my meditation practice. And I took a transcendental meditation course, and for anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's just absolutely wonderful. It's kind of a yogi type thing, and people are like, oh, that's woo woo, but really it's just a practice of sitting for 20 minutes and having kind of a nonsense word that you return to, and it teaches your mind really to think beyond the circumstances and think beyond all of the moving elements in your mind and thoughts and life. And once you can do that and you practice that in your meditation, then I don't want to say in the real world, but in life and the rest of the day, those things will come, and rather than stressing you or, stressing the mind or the body, you really are able to kind of be removed from that a little bit more. And so that really made a difference in my digestion, was meditation and really learning those skills.
Wow. Yeah. And I think about, meditation and how adverse I used to be to it. And, it really is a very practical thing. I mean, I think about guys like Tim Ferriss, who is just very, very left-brained, very, very practical. And, it's not this woo-woo thing that everybody
Right.
thinks it is. And we as a society are heavily, heavily left-brained practical, and just being open and willing to try, whether it be TM or any other type of meditation, it can be very, very beneficial. And unfortunately, I know for myself, when I got into meditation, I just expected my brain to be completely still for, the 5, the 10, the 20 minutes, and the brain doesn't work that way. And I think that's why a lot of people give up. It's like, hey, I still have all these thoughts. This isn't working. I'm just going to give this up. And it's like, hey, the brain's job is to think. It's to ask questions and to answer those questions. And so,
Right. Yeah, I think that with anything like that, that's funny you say that. That's who I learned about transcendental meditation from, was Tim Ferriss. He's one of my favorites. I like him.
Yes.
I like him a lot. His book has been awesome, The 4 Hour Body. But anyways, so yeah, I actually started with 5 minutes and then I went to 10. There's an app called Headspace, and they have like a 10 minutes for 10 days. And I did that first because I really believe in our healing process. Sometimes we want to jump into things and we want to be at, we want to go from A to Z, when really there's all these steps in between that will help us really live in that, rather than jumping from A to Z. And then when you're having a weak moment, going back to A, when you go to A to B to C, then when you're having a weak moment, you only go back one step. And so I decided I would do 5 minutes at first, and then I did 10, and then I did the Transcendental Meditation course. And I was really able to ease into it and really make it a permanent habit because I did the little bit at a time that wasn't too overwhelming.
Okay. Now, I know that taking the Transcendental Meditation course comes with a coach. Now, I'm kind of interested to know your experience with that, and how beneficial or not having a meditation coach is.
Yeah, the one that I did was, it was only about 4 or 5 days. And so the first day I went, it was a little longer, and there's some items that you bring to, it's somewhat of a ceremony, and it's just to practice kind of where the meditation, and where that came from. So it's just kind of honoring the people that created this. And for people that are, different religions, just really think about it in a practical sense, just because I know that, like, for me, I'm a Christian, and it's more like a Buddhist type thing, or something that's a little more Eastern. And I just went into it thinking, I want to honor this. This is what they created in their culture, and it's beautiful, and I'm not worried about whatever ceremony is going on. So just when anybody's trying it, they should have that really open mind going into it, rather than this is weird, because that kind of closes us off to being really connected with other people and really experiencing something that is really powerful. And so when I went into it, I just enjoyed the ceremony, and the coach really brought that word for me, that you can call it a mantra or a phrase. It can really just be a nonsense word. And each day I would come in after that, she would really coach me on really staying in that state, and how to rest your body, and how to breathe. And the coaching is continual, so I can go into any TM location and really get my practice checked to see if I'm really optimizing it the most, and really getting to that, transcending my thoughts, really just getting beyond those thoughts that are spinning around, versus just kind of, trying not to think about them. And so that's really beneficial, and it's kind of like a for life thing. So you can go and get that help whenever you need it, and it's wonderful to have that support. And we've only just talked to them one other time since taking it, just because we love it and we keep practicing it. But the coaching is wonderful, and the different groups that they organize and getting people together that do it together are really fun as well.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Claude, do you have any questions?
Do I have any questions?
No, I've got tons of questions.
Good.
Chloe, if you have some, that's great too.
Yeah, I would definitely have a lot of questions coming on this podcast as well.
Why am I here? Who are you guys?
These guys are fun. Yeah, you guys are funny.
Yeah, we try. We're funny looking.
Funny
acting.
It's true.
Yeah. So the TM stuff is amazing, and I feel like the people who are like, oh, you know what, I can't do that, I don't have time for that, they're kind of the folks that need that the most.
Yes.
So if you're one of those people listening and you're like, no, this is nonsense, I don't need it, trust me, you need it. Get the app at least, and just take 5 minutes, do it for 30 days, and your life could possibly change from it. So
yes, for the love of God, trust Claude.
Yes.
Of all people trust Claude.
I like how that rhymed. I like how my name rhymes with God. It's pretty.
Absolutely.
So Chloe, in your practice, what do you feel is the easiest thing for most of your clients to achieve or overcome?
Well, that's a wonderful question. Well, let me talk about.
I know each client is different. but general.
Yeah, in general. So I think one of the biggest things that's actually a challenge, and I'll go into what's a little bit easier as well, is I think that, and this is something I feel like I'm becoming an advocate for, just because it's imprinted on my life. I think that people want to really get healthy and nourish themselves and not be on a diet. I'm very anti-diet. I don't believe in like, oh, do this for 30 days. But a lot of people have these pre-existing mindsets around eating, and especially women, because we've been taught that we need to look this certain way, we need to eat these certain things, we need to cut these certain food groups out. And so when I'm noticing more and more that when I'm working with someone, it's hard to do like a full on like a FODMAP diet, or like a elimination diet, like, and just throw them in there, because they've been on so many diets before that's, even though that's a really great way to get healthy and it's something that's very important, it can be really damaging because they've already had that diet mentality before, and this is just another diet. And with dieting comes kind of this mindset of deprivation, and I need to almost imprison myself in this way of eating. And so what I really like to do, and this is maybe the harder part of what I do, is really change that mindset around diets and change it to a mindset of nourishment and nourishing my body. So that is probably the harder part of what I do. I think that the easier part is really just when people are really, when I work with someone, I really want them to be 100% committed to their transformation, because if they're not, they are not going to get those results for themselves. So if they're 100% committed, the easiest thing for me is just to give them one or two things at a time to really implement into their life. Then that way you're seeing progressive change that's long lasting, versus here's your diet plan, take all these supplements, start doing meditation. People can't maintain that, and it's too hard. So one thing at a time, really implementing that kind of in a progressive way has really been effective for people, and in my experience, to really make that shift in their lifestyle, and really working on not as much the action and being so attached to the results, but really the mindset of who you need to be versus all these things you need to do.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I mean that step-by-step approach, especially for newer practitioners or newer coaches, it's very tough because you have all this knowledge and you just want to be like, blah, here's everything.
Share it with everyone, and it's just like, I just puked all over you.
Yeah,
And I've done that before, and that was such a learning lesson, because I've been like, oh, I'll write out, these things, and we can work on one thing at a time. But I gave them everything, so then it's still overwhelming. And so really just starting where they are, like if, this is something I learned in my school, like if they're eating, 2 cheeseburgers a day, start with just eating 1. And I know for us, we're probably cringing, like, but really we have to understand people, where people are at and where we are at too, because for, me to judge that, I need to even check myself. So I have to meet them where they're at, and just, let's choose something that's a little bit healthier. Let's just take one thing off of that burger. And that is profound for people, just to change one thing at a time, because those little changes over time really are the thing that transforms us in the long term.
Yeah. You have one pretty significant change, at least for most people, every 2 weeks, and then 26 sessions later, the person has changed. So it's amazing. Now let's talk a little bit about commitment. I know you mentioned that before, but how do you gauge if somebody's 100% committed, or how do you help them find out?
Well, that really happens before I even work with someone. So I'll kind of do a filtration method of really figuring out which client would be the best fit for not only my services, but for me to be a coach for, because I don't want to just work with anyone. And I don't say that in a stuck up way. I say that in a, who am I best going to serve, and who is best going to get the results from who I am as a person. There's so many people right now that are practicing health and that know so much and that are a different kind of coach. And there's so many people that need help and to be, taught different things. And if I'm not a good fit, I would be doing them a disservice if I took them on and we don't quite fit and I'm not able to really help them versus, if I really am kind of asking, seeing where they're committed, really pulling out what they really want and why and who they need to become to get that. So going through that process with them and really seeing where their commitment level is and just making sure that I keep them accountable and keep them kind of in that commitment, but also knowing that we need to be kind of kindred souls. We need to really be ones that can work together and make growth together. It can't be, that I'm like doing all of the work, and it can't be that they're doing all the work. It has to be almost a joint effort. If that makes sense.
It has to be a team effort. I mean, they obviously have to do the work, and it's
Right.
it's our responsibility to have the knowledge or get the knowledge. When we come across something, as we tend to do, as we grow and get better, as healthcare practitioners, we're going to tend to run into things that we haven't run into before, and so we're going to be forced to learn more.
Yeah, and I think coaching really is doing that. It's really bridging the gap between doctors and therapists and nutritionists and different methods of I will heal you, and it's really kind of bringing that person and understanding the person as a whole, at least for health coaching, but different coaching. And it's working alongside those doctors and nutritionists to really find the best fit for that person, the best way to get them healthy.
Yeah, and a lot of the battle, it happens in the mind. I mean, if we're just talking about the body, that's just making a few changes here and there, but actually having somebody change their lifestyle, I think is the number one thing that we
Yes.
need to focus on, that we do focus on, at least the coaches that are kind of in the know. And then that brings upon huge changes, and people are happier. They're like, it's amazing to see,
Yeah, there's a study. This is so funny. So they tested actors and actresses that were doing a tragedy versus a comedy. So a group of them were, working on this tragedy, different show or movie, and a group of them were working on a comedy. And what they noticed about these people were that the actors and actresses doing the tragedy had compromised immune systems and higher cortisol. And the people that were doing the comedy had increased immune function and lower cortisol. And so really the way that we think and the way that we are acting, in a sense, because of our thoughts, so that, that process of thinking or thinking and then saying and then acting really is important for that healing process. And that even applies to the coach. Like if we're not taking care of ourselves and in the right state, how will we overpour into our clients and really give them what they need to take the action to heal? But I just found that very fascinating, just because these two different groups of people, they're probably very, same level of health, and yet the way that they were acting and what they were involved in dictated the different levels in their body for optimum health.
It's wild what the mind can do.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I didn't realize that doing this podcast was good for my health.
Really?
I mean, I say that partially tongue in cheek, but I mean,
all the laughing, I'm sure.
It is. I mean,
from all the laughing.
Yeah.
Just being around me is healing. So you're welcome, Brian.
Oh, but thank you, Claude. I appreciate that.
Oh,
Claude and God, they sound very similar.
you know what? It's not random. Let's put it that way.
I heard earlier Santa Claus. I like that.
Santa Claus. You know what? That's what I call myself when Christmas time comes around. Just handing out presents and push-ups and squats and the gift of fitness. Anyway.
Wow.
Moving on. Chloe, I'm always interested. What are you studying right now? What are you doing to further your own practice or business? And how are you trying to grow yourself?
I love that question. That's like my favorite question ever. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. And you're welcome also.
Thank you. So for me right now, so I'm really still developing different aspects of my business. Like I'd really like to integrate group coaching. I'd like to really do news segments because I feel like Arizona is not a saturated market. There's not a lot of people that are advocating for really holistic natural health. For investing in myself, right now I just hired a coach, and he is a business coach, and he's really going to help me dial in how I can impact the most people possible with just being one person, which is sometimes what we get into. We want to help everyone, but we really do have to hone in on that niche. Like for me, people with the gut stuff, which I understand. I understand the leaky gut. I understand the phytic acid on the grains that's, irritating their gut. I understand those types of things. Just really investing in myself to build that business and to know what that market is and to really serve them. So honing in on those types of things, and emotional intelligence. So that training I was at this weekend is an emotional intelligence training in LA, and that's been groundbreaking for my personal growth, just because the value that we put into ourselves, we can give back to the world. And so I decided to do this, and it was such a stretch because we're driving back quite often or flying, because there's different weekends that we do this, but the community and the processes that we go through they really provide breakthroughs in mindset, and they really provide breakthroughs in, kind of some of the, not therapy, not really diagnosing or like talking through that, but more like group interaction to really break through and just have that vulnerability in a group setting, so that when I come out of it, each week even, but just even the first time, I really was able to have clarity on what I needed to do, and those fears weren't in the way anymore. So I would say do courses, just invest. I've probably spent, here I'll be paying my new coach, and I probably spent in the last year, maybe how many $1,000? Quite a few $1,000 just in trainings and schoolings and nutrition things and just all of it. And people I think are a little bit afraid to invest in themselves and spend the money because they have this deep fear that I'm not worth it, or I won't get that return on my investment. And so I would say taking the risk and just to invest in yourself. So you want to have a fit brain versus a fat brain, if that makes sense. So let me explain this.
Yes,
concept.
please.
You calling me a fathead?
I feel like a fat brain sometimes.
I'm trying to explain this the best I can. Okay, so for investing in yourself, so think of someone who is very fit. They're muscular, they lift weights, versus someone that's heavier and is maybe obese. They're both probably eating very similar amounts of food. But the difference is the quality of the food and also the action that they're taking to optimize that food and to use that. And so the fit person, they're eating very specific, clean foods, and they go back to the same sources because they know that those work, versus the person that's eating just whatever and just ingesting like lots and lots and lots and not really being strategic. And then the person that's fit, they're also lifting weights. They're taking action on that food that they've put into their body, and they're creating something out of it. So when you're investing in yourself and you're investing large quantities, large calories, you want to really take action on those things, because then your brain's able to really become fit, because it's applying all those things rather than being just overwhelmed and fat with knowledge. So for me, this is something I'm really trying to put into practice. When I learn something, I'm trying to do a Facebook Live or write it out or speak it to someone else or take action on it. Like something I learned this week, okay, I need to take action on it this week, so that I'm not just getting all this information and it's just going in one ear and out the other, but I'm actually making that apply to my life. I'm changing my physiology and applying that to my spectrum of influence and really giving that back to the world. So the fit brain versus the fat brain is just something I kind of have been meditating on. Really, all the investment I'm doing in myself, there has to be the action tied to it for it to really be effective. But trainings are wonderful. Reading is the best. Do you guys want me to recommend a few books?
Yeah, I mean, since we're here, let's
Yeah,
do it. We usually save it till,
Oh, I'm sorry. I
No,
don't
no,
want
no, no.
to change the
That's
plan at
completely
all.
fine. No, no, no. You know what?
You
We don't
ruined the
actually have a.
podcast. We're ending this thing now. Oh my God, Chloe,
I'm just,
you're
We
fired.
actually
I'm
don't.
sorry.
We don't
No.
have
I'm
a.
just,
We don't have a plan. It's just
Yeah,
chicken
okay.
scratch on the back of a napkin, and we hope for
oh,
the best.
you have a napkin?
Oh,
I
fine.
just did
You
it
didn't get.
right into carved it right into the table.
Oh gosh, here's the plan. I just don't want to take it over, but I just
No,
have to
please.
No,
recommend.
please,
So
please.
you guys know Tim Ferriss, and
Absolutely.
the 4 Hour Body has been absolutely wonderful for me because before I was like doing all this cardio and oh, I got to lift weights to get the muscle, burn the fat, build the muscle. But there's a few processes in his book and to where I tried them and the results were amazing. So the weightlifting process that he goes through that was created by, let me see, what's his name? It's right here by
Pavel, Charles Poliquin.
Arthur Jones
Okay.
supervised the process. And they put like 30 pounds of muscle or plus on this guy in like
Oh,
30
is that?
days.
Yeah, yeah. The science experiment guy. The
Yes.
geek to freak.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. And
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people that are listening have heard this. If you haven't, go check it out on Tim Ferriss's website, his blog. But
Yeah, he's got an article on it.
yeah, but just even for a woman, so I did the weightlifting routine and I started implement. So it's only like you're working out, one day on and then 2 days off. So it's not extensive at all. And when you go in, you're only doing one set of each thing. So people are like, you won't get results from that. But because you're doing such a heavy set and you're doing it slowly, you're fatiguing the muscle just enough to really start having that definition. And you're also you're not overwhelming the body. You're not, increasing the cortisol too much or fatiguing the adrenals. So for me, I got profound results from it in my muscle tone by doing less than more. I'm really for exercise, less is a lot of times more. With cardio, with weightlifting, it's just
I see these people going in and just legitimately killing themselves with weights,
yes,
doing the same weight every time, doing the same number of repetitions, and just sweating and dying. And it's like, hey, you're not getting any results.
It's true. And actually, when I was first doing it, I was doing it wrong. I was doing it like 5-6 days a week, way too long, and I actually started gaining weight and not just muscle. And I was kind of confused, like, shouldn't I be, building muscle? And, because I was on a specific plan for that. And it was just that the amount of stress it was putting on my body was just not, and that type of stress just doesn't work for my body. It may for other people, but so when I shifted it and I just really was more specific and really, found a process that worked and was as Tim calls it, the minimum effective doses. Yes, yes. And when I did that, I really started seeing the results. And the same thing with my cardio routines. Rather than spending hours at the gym or doing classes, which weren't effective, high intensity interval was very effective. And even just long walks, but doing intervals was very effective for fat burning.
No, for sure. And you see a lot of people nowadays, they just go into the gym, they murder themselves, or they get a trainer and they want the trainer to murder them for them.
Right.
And that's not what like 95%, maybe 99% of the population needs, because they're overstressed, overworked, they're not sleeping enough, they're not eating enough, and they want to go in and spend 90 grueling minutes just sweating and burning the rest of their adrenals out. And that's like the complete opposite direction. So I'm glad you brought that up, because
yes. And I think people, it's not sustainable. It has to be.
No,
it has to be sustainable. And so that is something that I really want to teach my clients, because they're like, yeah, I tried, this, an hour a day, this, and that's just. And then also, I have to agree with the people that are doing this. They're already stressed. They're waking up an hour earlier and they're giving up that precious sleep. Mm-hmm. If you had to choose 20% of the things that would give you 80% of the results, I would replace sleep with exercise sometimes for some people, or make that more of a priority first, because missing the sleep is increasing the ghrelin and you're getting hungrier and you're more tired and you're not really as motivated to exercise. And
you're going to crave bad food.
Yes.
Keep your blood sugar high to keep that energy up. And it's just a vicious cycle. The more sugar you have, the longer you stay up at night, the less sleep you get. And then it continues on and on and on.
Yes, it is. It is. It's a vicious cycle. Yeah. And working out too long, you're hungry afterwards. Like you've been for not only, the intensity, but the duration, been just completely killing your body. And so when you're done, you're so starving versus having this like long lasting burn that's building lean muscle and then also putting the right foods into your body to really build those muscles. But yeah, and the sugar is that's probably the biggest issue for most people is
Yeah,
just
sugar and
cutting the
caffeine.
sugar. Yes, the caffeine
Yeah.
is hard too. And it's because our bodies are craving a quick fix because they're so tired in the first place.
Yeah, I completely agree. And you spoke about cortisol before, and for folks that don't know, that's a stress hormone. And if you work out too hard and your body's not appreciating it, you're going to start gaining some weight around the midsection. So
Mhm.
you might be working out, but you'll be gaining weight, like Chloe was talking about earlier. So
Yeah.
we're not just bullshitting here. It's you got to have a lot of things in check before you can go ham in the gym.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When I first started my kind of my really getting to optimum health, I would say my journey.
Oh,
I
nice, nice.
it
Optimum.
was optimum. It was bulletproof coffee. It was adding those fats back in, and I switched from working out 6 days a week to I just started doing long interval walks and yoga, and later I added weights. But just those two things, and I took grains out of my diet, and that was very crucial for my health at that point. I took grains completely out, and now I eat a little bit here and there, but I'm very careful with my grains. But adding the really good fats in for my brain and my hormones and doing the right types of exercise and not too much. And then I started going to bed and getting I would get like 10 hours of sleep for a while just to heal my adrenals. I wasn't even trying, but I dropped 20 pounds in a matter of like a month or two just from switching those things because I was giving my body what it needed versus just almost punishing it for being, having a little extra weight and not feeling good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think about your adrenals as kind of like a bank or a credit card, and
Yes.
people just keep withdrawing,
Hmm.
and at the end of the day, you'll be left with minus or nothing because nobody puts
Right.
back in, right?
I
Nope.
say that they're a battery. You have to charge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
and like it's tough because people just kind of burn the candle at both ends, and they don't realize why they're so tired, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, but hopefully having this information out there and the more we kind of propagate it, the more we help people, the more they'll understand and help others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
that's the goal.
uh,
Yeah. And I
cou-
don't think, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So a couple of things real quick. I wanted to kind of get back to Tim Ferriss and the 4 Hour Body real quick. Have you done any of the quick workouts before eating, like the 90 seconds? I know it's mentioned in the book. Have you done any of that? And if so, has that been effective for you?
Do you mean like the ab ones where it's like the littler
Well, it'd be
workouts with the
like
kettlebells?
air squats or like
Hmm.
pull.
Oh, it's to offset the shitty things you're about to eat, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Oh, yeah. And then he has the supplements for if you have a bench day as well.
yeah.
Yes. I usually am pretty careful with what I eat before I work out. I want to, if I'm too full, if I eat right before I work out, I feel really sick. But that's just my body. I know my body it doesn't function super well. Whereas someone else may be able to do a big sandwich or, a steak right before and be okay. I
God, that
haven't,
sounds horrible.
I know that it does, but you know what? Or like even the big shakes, like I kind of go a little. No, I haven't experimented with eating right before unless it's
No, no,
something
no.
really.
I'm sorry. I was talking about doing like air squats or doing muscular contractions for like 90 seconds before eating, and then actually, it's
To hope
supposed
it
to.
gets into the
Yeah,
muscle and
exactly.
Oh,
yeah, it starts your
no,
metabolism up apparently.
I haven't done. I mean, I've done lots of air squats and different like all the
Right, right.
workouts he recommends, but I haven't tried the like eat real quick and then 90-second interval and then no, I haven't experimented with that too much. Have you guys?
No, I haven't. I've read about it, but I haven't yet experimented with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that's something I haven't yet tried. It's almost like an encyclopedia, this book. It's
Oh
worth
yeah.
the investment. I have experimented with his supplements, and I found those really to be pretty good. So whenever I would work out and then I would eat afterwards, I would take the few different
The
what-
PAG stack.
yes, yeah, yep, and I would kind of start adding those in, and I noticed that even when I'd eat like a little bit more after the workout, I would still really start like cutting fat very quickly, and I think that those supplements, there was something to them. They just kind of added this element of the body was able to process what I was eating a little bit more effectively into getting it into my muscles and really like having that burn continue. So I really did admire that aspect of it. I'm trying to think what my favorite, the one that worked, was it alpha lipoic acid was one of them?
Probably.
Yep,
Probably.
Yeah.
absolutely.
That
Good
probably,
for the nervous system.
yes, that probably was my favorite one that I experimented with. And then there's this one, it's POLICOSANOL, polysolanol. Have you guys tried that
Oh.
one?
No.
That I noticed if I take that one after I've eaten a large meal, and you know what, maybe it's a mind thing, but I noticed when I took those two after I would eat my post-workout meal, I just felt like it helped my body utilize that workout a little bit better, if that makes sense. So when I was consistently taking those, I'm not too religious about taking them right now just because I'm really happy with where I'm at, but I would take those like after a large meal, and I feel like before when I was working out, I would gain a lot of fat after a workout and eating a large meal, whereas when I would take these, there's something that they do that just really, your body it doesn't go into fat storing mode. It really goes into fat burning mode, even if you're eating a large meal to replenish your stores. So I would recommend those two. And I don't know enough to really like say you have to do this, but for me, I noticed a difference.
Yeah, and you know what? I think for folks, even just getting started on just the exercise, sleep, and eating a little bit better, like if they do like a slow carb diet and just hit the gym
Yeah.
2 or 3 times a week, and if they're not doing anything, because we can really get wrapped up with supplements. I know I myself, I've probably tried everything under the sun, and honestly, it just comes back to exercise, sleep, and diet. Those are like the big things. And
Yeah.
if you get that down, supplements are fantastic afterwards. But I mean,
Right. That's going to kind of be the last 5% to worry
Right.
about.
exactly. I mean, it can
Right.
help, and if people need it, like that's great. That's their prerogative. They can have that. But I've some supplements, like I've done all the bodybuilding supplement crap,
Yeah.
like all the pre-workout junk, and it's just ruined my health even more. And the stuff
Yeah.
that Tim Ferriss recommends is pretty solid,
Yeah.
but people kind of almost they replace like medicine and everything with supplements, and you
Right.
just
It's still
giant
the
stacks.
allopathic method, basically, of this for that, rather than really looking at the underlying cause of whatever the symptom is.
Yeah. So I mean, I always try to caution people like, hey, like supplements are great, but get this stuff in check first. Otherwise, you're going to be, just washing your money away in the toilet.
Yeah, and I think that like you guys mentioned, it is really that 5%. It's a boost. It's just to kind of
Definitely.
get you really to reach that next level, or just kind of help along the healing process. Like, but the artificial stuff, that's not as much what I would recommend is more herb-based things. So like
Oh, for
something
sure.
like an adaptogen supplement. Gaia has a great adrenal complex, and that's something I would totally recommend because I know the value of food and nutrition being very healing. And so when that's in supplement form, especially if you have it in liquid form, I noticed that is really effective, and it's something that is just a great addition to already doing things that are going to heal your adrenals or heal your gut. Like, L-glutamine is a great supplement for healing your gut, but if you're doing that just by itself, it's not going to make a difference. You have to
Totally.
get the ginger and remove the things that are in question and really, repopulate the microbiome with prebiotics and probiotics. You can't just do a probiotic supplement. You have to get those prebiotics. But and kombucha is a great way to do that, but you can't just throw in a supplement and expect a change.
Yeah, and a lot of people do that, and it's surprising. They just want this quick fix, and it's not that sexy. It's not that, like
No.
it's not
No.
bada boom, bada bing.
No, I
It's
mean, I want the quick fix. I mean, let's be real, but I also understand that life doesn't work that way.
Right.
yeah, good
Right.
things take time. Good
I
things
think our
take time.
culture is kind of taught to, or it's kind of
Yeah.
influenced to have a quick fix. And so I really am trying to move away from that and do more consistent things that I can implement just because I know the value of, have you guys heard of Miracle Mornings? Have you ever read that book?
No.
No.
It's a really wonderful book. So the guy that wrote it, he was in a horrible car accident, and it just kind of made him like rethink life. Like he was so thankful for it, and then later on in life, after that, he was in this extreme debt, and he just started changing his morning routine. And just by adding those things in, and each thing he just did for 10 minutes. It was the acronym is SAVERS. So it's silence or meditation, and then you do affirmation, you do visualization, you do 10 minutes of exercise, and then you do reading and then scribbling or scribing, whatever you want to call it, journaling. And he just did the 10 minutes of each of those things. So that's 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it completely transformed his life just by doing those things in the morning, just getting up an hour earlier.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. Definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, I love it.
So,
Change starts with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know we had gotten into books before. The 4 Hour Body, Miracle Mornings. Do you have a couple other, or a few more?
Yes. So the power of habit is another really, really effective, amazing one, and that's by Charles Dunn. And have you guys heard of that one?
No.
I've got it on my bookshelf somewhere.
I haven't read it. It's just up
it's
there
a-
for show.
Yes,
a
pretty
really-
much.
It's there. You have it. It's a really great read. I love books that help me understand myself and others better. And this is really a good book for that because it goes into the habits of not only individuals and kind of like why we have habits, but it also goes into the habits of businesses and what slight tweaks can do for a company. And so for that it's wonderful. So if you're your own CEO, this is a must read, but also if you're feeling like you're stuck in your habits, this is also a good read just because habits are 50% of what we do. We just do things subconsciously that have been pre-existing neural pathways that we just keep running over again and again and again. And we're really not empowered or aware how to change our habits. But when we realize that habits are just three things, they're just a cue, and then they're a routine, and then they're a reward. They're just those three things. And that's the pathway that the mind will travel on to perform that habit. When we want to change a habit, we don't change the cue or the reward because the brain really wants to reward the cue with that, and it's built the neural pathway for that. But what we want to do is we want to change the routine. So what that would look like, and this is all in the book more in depth, it's wonderful, but what we want to do is, so for someone that's struggling with binge eating or eating massive amounts or sugar cravings, so the cue could be it could be hunger, it could be tiredness, it could be loneliness, it could just be being frustrated. That's the cue, and the routine is to go walk over to get the food and eat massive amounts of food so that we feel better and we get a release, or we get something that just kind of relieves us. So if we change that routine, or the process of getting from the cue to the reward, and we replace it with something different. So say you go outside and you go on a really long walk, then we're getting that reward, and the brain creates that as the new pathway to go. And so then we have these cornerstone habits. So like I was saying earlier, with doing 20% that will produce 80% of the results, if we can really find those habits that will help us create other habits, those are the ones we really want to hone in on and really transform the route of getting from the cue to the reward. So for me, personally, mine would be sleep. So if I could, my cue is I'm tired, but my routine was I would try to finish all these things during the day and get all these things done and all these thoughts. And then, the reward for that was, I could get rest, but it was in the form of like getting everything done, but then I would be up really late. So instead, my cue of being tired would be my bedtime routine, my new bedtime routine, to read a book, drink my tea, and then the reward was I got rest. And so when I kind of changed the process, I was able to change the habit of staying up late by just changing the routine itself, but not the reward that I got.
Yeah, and I think if anyone's struggling with sleep, there you go, guys. Free advice.
Yeah, it's worth the price of admission today.
Yep, which was free.
Thanks, guys. Oh.
So, other than that, if you could give one practical piece of healing advice to all of our listeners, what would that be, and why did you pick that particular piece of advice?
Healing advice. That is, you guys are just full of wonderful questions.
Brian's full of something, that's for sure.
It's called diverticulitis there, Claude.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say dynamite, and I'm like, yeah, but
I'm the bomb, baby.
I think it would be one thing specifically. I think it would be to learn to love yourself. I think that in our culture, especially Western culture, we're taught to serve, 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 and do, and get all this stuff done and meet this standard. And we forget and we lose our ability to understand how to love ourselves. And when we don't love ourselves, or when we don't know how, we can only love at that level to others, because we really truly don't know what love is, because that's the most important person in our lives is ourselves. And so then we're looking for others for affirmation and love, and then we're expecting something, and that's not love. So when we're taking care of ourselves and putting ourselves first, and people say, oh, I can't put myself first, that's selfish, but it's actually selfish not to. And this is a mindset we have to shift out of, because when we put ourselves first and we invest in ourselves with, like, books and nourishment and meditation and those types of things, and we really coaches,
yeah.
yes, when we invest in coaching, and we get vulnerable, but we learn to love ourselves, then we can really start loving others and impacting the world and seeing that change in our life. I see that as a really crucial turning point for a lot of eating disorders, and I see that as a really crucial turning point for a lot of autoimmune diseases and health issues, and also different like depression and anxiety. I just really see that as a catalyst for better health, is loving yourself first and being so full that you overflow, rather than pouring out an empty cup that doesn't have anything left.
I think that's a great point. Especially in today's society, people feel like they're not enough, and there's always somebody better with a nicer car or a nicer partner or nicer dog or whatever it may be.
Nicer co-host.
Shut up, Ryan.
See, I rest my case. Thank you for proving my point.
You're welcome.
Says the guy that busts your balls more than you bust mine. But anyway.
But you see, I proved your point for you. It means I'm nice.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. But no, and it's completely overlooked, because you have to love yourself. And we bring it back to that point. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? So how do you expect others to love you if you can't even love yourself, right? And it's got to start with you. So thank you for that answer.
Yeah, that's been a huge healing point in my own life, is realizing that I matter and I'm irreplaceable and I'm making a difference and I'm valuable. And I think that as women especially, and I know men go through...
I feel like those are like 4 affirmations that everybody should start saying to
Yeah,
themselves.
for real.
Really,
Yes,
I'm
really.
not joking.
Yeah.
That's why that book, The Miracle Morning, that's affirmations have become such an important part of my morning, because I literally every morning affirm, I am world's greatest health coach. And that's out there, but because I'm saying that, that's helping me really empower myself to help others, and really to not hide behind fear, and really to love the talents and the tools that I have. So it may not be that I'm like the most well-known person, or that, I'm this or that, but when I say that to myself, or that I am valuable, I am powerful, I am confident, I love myself, when I say those things to myself, or I say, God created me for an incredible purpose. When I affirm those things to myself and I say it with emotion, so it's almost, instead of an affirmation, it's almost an incantation.
Getting the body involved.
Yes, the physiology and the emotion, when we get those involved, it becomes an incantation. But when I do that for myself and I start to, my mind starts to shift and I'm more available and I'm more useful with all the talents that are within me, as opposed to doubting myself, going, oh, what if I'm not good enough? What if I'm not a good health coach? And just that I don't even go there, because it's not true. It really isn't true. I am a great health, I just affirm, and people call it positive thinking, but I think it's really just teaching your brain what's true by just telling it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that Kanye West story, and why he's got that giant picture of himself over his couch.
Yeah.
You know?
Was that on?
No, I think that was on Tim Ferriss's podcast. Yeah, he's like, if I don't cheer for me, how do I expect others to cheer for me? Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right, and it allows you to cheer for others more effectively too. If you love yourself and you encourage yourself, if you coach yourself, you can coach others.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, want to be respectful of your time, Chloe, so let's jump right in here.
Okay.
Who is the first person that comes to mind, or what is a set of ideals or attributes that come to mind when you hear the optimum human?
I just think that we are living just kind of at average a lot of times in our life. And so when I think of the optimum human, I think of really taking life to that next level and really optimizing everything that we've been given and everything that's within us to use in a really impactful way and to really optimize our range of service and our range of ability.
Right on.
That's how I would summarize it.
Absolutely.
I'll take it.
Yes, you will, Claude. And I guess next question would be, who would you want to hear on our podcast, and what would you want to hear them talk about, or what would you specifically want to ask them?
I was thinking about this earlier. I'm glad you brought this up. There's this company called Neurohacker Collective, and they're located in Encinitas, California. And they make these incredible nootropics. And they're, because I've taken Cell Tep before and different things like that, just kind of to experiment with brain function. But these guys it's really natural, which I love and I can stand behind and I support. But it's really, gosh, how would I explain it? Oh, sorry, but it's just really something that when I took, it gave me a different experience than I've ever had with another supplement like that.
Did you see dragons?
Oh my gosh, probably. No, I'm just no. It gives you this level of, because you're just putting basically herbs into your brain, but you have this level of, you can almost focus on everything at once and really kind of optimize your thoughts and the organization of your thoughts is the best way I could explain it. And I had much clarity with it. And I don't take it all the time. We took it for a little while I like to try different things and kind of be a human guinea pig and just to see, as long as they're safe and they're natural. But I really enjoyed them, and I can send you guys their information too. But they'd be an awesome company to get on.
Okay, awesome. We'll definitely have to check into that.
Yeah, I'd love to see them.
Brian and I definitely need to power up our brains.
It's true.
The coffee isn't working.
Well, not as well as it used to. Let's put it that way.
Touche. So, Chloe, how can our listeners find out more about you and what you're doing?
Your viewers can go check out thefreedomdigest.com. So thefreedomdigest.com. It's all one word. And it's my blog, but it also has a link to my business. There's a section for that. But I started, before I was coaching, doing holistic recipes that were free of different allergies. So soy-free, nut-free, egg-free, dairy-free, all of them are gluten-free. And they can go check that out. And there's tons of free resources on like why ginger and parsley is good for you, or what's a great shepherd's pie that isn't, made with sweet potatoes instead, that's more of a paleo version. And so I love giving useful things, and there's that. And then if people are interested in coaching, if they're struggling with an autoimmune issue or they're struggling with their health in any way, you can visit me on there, and my email's on there. Just write directly to me, and I'd love to talk to them and get them better.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And with that, Chloe, do you have any parting words of wisdom or anything you'd like to tell
Thoughts, requests, anything?
Well, it's just been such a pleasure to talk to you guys and get to know you, and I've loved to laugh with you. Yes.
Take a compliment, Brian.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that.
Brian, God, you guys are so much fun. I love what you're doing. And I would just say for people to, maybe the 3 takeaways from this are to really hone in on your gut and brain connection, really learning about your gut health and how grains affect you and how different environmental stressors affect you, really focusing on self-love and really putting yourself first and investing in yourself regardless of financial or time. You are important. You deserve to be invested in. And then also just to really do one thing at a time for your health. Really just to implement one healthy thing at a time that will, over the course of time, make a difference versus something that isn't sustainable that we try to do all at once. That would be my words of wisdom to leave kind of as a summary.
That last minute and a half has been more concise and helpful than anything I've ever said in my life. So
it's true. It's true.
Yeah, Brian can attest to that.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Chloe, for coming on.
Oh, thank you.
It's been a blast. I mean, full of great information. We had a few chuckles here and there. Wouldn't be the Brian and Claude show without Brian and Claude being assholes.
It's not the Brian and Claude show.
Oh crap! Which one are we doing today?
I don't know.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, anyway,
God.
With that, we bid you adieu, and to our listeners, thank you very much for listening, guys. If you've made it this far, if you haven't, then you probably won't hear this. So have a great day anyway. And Brian, thank you for being my co-host, man.
Absolutely. Claude, thank you, and Chloe, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your wisdom.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Optimum Human Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to head on over to iTunes and give a 5-star rating and review, which will help spread the word to more awesome listeners just like you. Head on over to theoptimumhuman.com and subscribe to the free newsletter and get the Optimum Human's Blueprint to the Optimum Life. Download it instantly. Thanks for listening.